Council, Tuesday, January 7 p.m. If we could all rise for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Mayor Capuano, if you'll lead us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Be seated. Chair. Secretary will do a roll call, please.
Mr. Adams.
Here.
Mr. Crothermel.
Here.
Mr. Kirkhoff.
Here.
Ms. Landis.
Here.
Mr. May.
Here.
Mr. Williams.
Here.
Ms. Young.
Here.
Mayor Capuano.
Here.
Solicitor Dissinger.
Here.
Engineer Rogowski.
Here.
I'd like to remind everyone to please silence any electronic devices. So we'll start with review of the December 19th, 2017 Borough Council minutes.
The last page in public comment. Second paragraph is during his tenure. I'm thinking I should say but versus not. But it is Craig, so it could have gone either way.
Okay. We'll make it a but and not a nut.
On the first page, the second line under call to order, I assume that's supposed to read December 19th, 2017, as opposed to just D, 2017.
Okay, wait, where, I'm sorry.
First
Hold on.
page, under call to order, on the second line.
Yes. Thank you.
Anything else? It's going to take a long time.
I'd like to make a motion we approve the minutes as corrected.
I have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Darrell Crothermel, seconded by Chris Adams to accept the minutes of December 19th, 2017 with corrections noted. Any discussion? All those in favor, please state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now look at the meeting minutes from January 2nd, 2018.
Under the swearing in, we want to add Lisa's first name. Oh, well, not that.
Yeah, my mouse keeps deleting things, like, there's something wrong with it, sorry.
Well, we've got an IT grant for that.
I know.
Yes.
I should just use the other computer.
And we
but
could just add anybody,
So used to
anyway.
sitting there.
There's a few of them.
So if things look completely wacky, that's why.
Got it. Any other changes?
I'd like to make a motion we approve the January 2nd, 2018 minutes as corrected.
Second.
A motion and a motion by Darrell Crothermel, second by Chris Adams to approve the January 2nd, 2018 minutes, adding Miss Landis's identity. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Dana, could you pass me the clipboard, please? Thank you.
You're welcome.
If you wish to speak. So, Mr. Nace, you wish to speak?
I do. Good evening. It's odd to be on this side of the table. I'm glad to see a full table, and Happy New Year. I always like to see when the room is more full, and I just wanted to, I missed the January 2nd meeting. I was on an emergency call that evening, but I hope to attend as many meetings as I reasonably can. I want to welcome the 2 new council members and the 2 junior council members. to an interesting ride at best. So I think there's a lot of work to be done. I think we've started a lot of projects and we've got some good people in the right spots. So I congratulate everybody that's coming forth and putting the work in. And I missed Greg actually at my last meeting in December. He wasn't here. He stood me up. And I really wanted to make the point, apart from my comments about the wages going to our members of council and the mayor, about the hired help, if you will, and the fine staff that we've had and that the borough has had. It's been a pleasure to work with Pessy, certainly with Pannoni and Greg in particular, and building companies. So I think you've got some really great assets over here, and use them as you can. Certainly if I can be of service, I don't want to step on any toes, but certainly if I can be of service, I gladly will, and whatever that can be. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did anybody else change their mind at this point and wish to speak? Turn off my timer or it'll beep and we won't know why. We will move forward with appointments, resignations, correspondence, proposals, and citizen action forms. Because we like Bill happy, we're going to take some action this evening to do some of the appointments for the offices. So I will leave that to you folks.
What are you looking for? Appointment of borough manager, treasurer, and secretary.
I'd like to make a motion to table those, leave them operate under the conditions they've been operating under for the next 2 to 3 months, till we get time and the new council members get time to review their agreements with us.
Second.
Motion by Roger Williams, seconded by Darrell Crothermell to table.
3 months,
To
I'll just
table.
make it 3.
Okay, to table the appointments for 3 months until new council members have had an opportunity to review the agreements and the positions. Any further discussion?
Can we review, I haven't ever seen, I've never been on council for it either, so
Yes.
can I see, I want to review the agreements also.
I
don't know if
would
you
like to
I-
see all council members get copies of all the agreements, Christie, especially our contracts and so forth. Because sewer authority hasn't even sold a new contract for this year for sewer, water, the utilities, or anything. So if we could see, if every council member, mainly the new ones, but some of the old, I mean, Jeff, I totally didn't mean to leave you out.
No, it's fine.
not knowing you
I'd
did.
like to see one. I haven't seen one.
So,
So, just so that I'm clear on the request, you're looking for any contracts or agreements we have with the folks that generally sit with us at the table.
correct.
There's no agreements, I mean, the 3 that are listed on the agenda were the manager, the treasurer, financial director, and the secretary. They don't have agreements specifically, so you wish for those to be tabled as well?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I think it's the same opportunity that we had when we came on to council in the beginning of 2016 to, get to know who we currently have, what options are out there, and, kind of get a feel for where we are before we make appointments for the next 2 years.
That's how long the appointments are for, 2 years?
Well, I guess we could, rescind them if needed during that time if they're not contracted, but
are they normally 2-year appointments,
Um,
or are they annual?
Typically redone at reorganization, but in fact, that will.
Okay. Chris, are you clear on the request of what folks are looking for to review?
I'm clear what they're looking for to review, but we don't have any such documents. There's no employment agreements with any of our staff.
I think they're specifically talking about the Pessy contract, the Pannoni agreement, whatever we have with Bill, any agreements that the council has entered into. I don't know, I don't know the benefit of the other 3 and putting those off, but if that's the wish of council, that's how it shall be. Any other discussion?
Would that mean we would discuss it then in April's meeting, just making sure that we're all on the same page? So it'd be 3 months, it would be tabled until the April meeting.
And if it's at will, it can be changed at any time,
Yes.
based on action of council anyhow, so.
And
Okay.
up until, go from right now, it's not appointing them, won't affect their current status.
No, because everything's in force until it's changed,
Okay.
in essence. Is there any other discussion? Is everyone clear on the motion?
Yes.
All those in favor, please state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. General reports, Mr. Gregory Rogowski as Borough Engineer.
Madam President. I have my written report on the sewer side of the world. We are in very good shape with meeting our consent order requirements. Just for the edification of the new members, the borough is currently in agreement with DEP to have a specific piece of equipment installed under what we call a consent order, which is basically an agreement with them. If you violate that, we get fined. So we anticipate that being completed on around the end of June. I did kind of put in bold in my report, once again, I've had this discussion with Chris. We're going to be obligated to the tune of about $400,000 in the June timeframe, well, probably July, August timeframe. So I know that financing has been an ongoing issue, and just a reminder, friendly reminder that'll be coming to you shortly. So.
We wrote a check, we need to cash it.
Correct, yeah, we're looking for it. Elm Street sewer rehabilitation, you should have in your packet, we had, at the request of the authority, bid a couple of different options for the addressing of some infiltration and inflow in the Elm Street line, which is right down near the sewer plant. Specifically, one was related to there's a manhole down there that is from the original system, we don't know why it's even there, as well as about 100 feet of line that's included in there. And there were several options associated with that particular bid. We are recommending option 3, which is the lining of that particular stretch of main and the elimination of the problem manhole. It is just about the same price as digging the manhole out completely, and it's far cheaper than replacing the entire line. So we're looking to do that as part of, I'll call it a pilot project, I think it's a fair statement, to see how some of this lining works, and potentially we'll be using it in some other areas in the borough moving forward.
How confident are you in that? Just because I wasn't at the December sewer meeting, how confident are you in the curative place?
It's come a long way. The conversations that we had at the meeting, some of the, in its infancy, there were a lot of issues with it. It would slide, it would slip, there was problems with it. It's now cured in place with steam, so it's a different animal. And it's got a little track record under its belt now. So I'm pretty comfortable with it. We're using it in a lot of places. And like I said, we don't have the same issues that we had years ago with it. So I think it's a third of the cost. So you project that over the entire borough, that you're not going to get the full life cycle out of it, but you're going to get
That's what I was going to ask, what is the life
about
cycle?
20 to 30 years.
What would a full life cycle be before replacement?
About 50 years. So now plastic pipe, we really haven't had plastic pipe 50 years yet. So it's still going strong, but that's what the projection is, and it'll probably be longer even than that. So, but yeah, that's just keep in the back of your head.
Well, we probably haven't had this 30 years either, so.
Right, yeah, right, exactly. It's all in what you're ready for. So, Dr. Lyon, been around forever. On the water side, we do anticipate submitting a permit for the replacement of the well 1 building and some other issues related to well 4 here this week. We've met with borough staff. They're actually going to be doing the construction work on that particular enclosure around well 1. On the Chestnut Street project, we have a couple of items to wrap up. I haven't forgot about your hydrant, Jeff. We're working on that. As well as the final top coat. That'll be done in the spring. And another bid item on the agenda this evening is related to well number 7. Under the CEDACOG grant we received, this is the next step in that process. We have to drill the well. Basically, we're going to drill the well, and we have to test it and then submit to the SRBC a bunch of different documents in order to get on their agenda to get our docket approved to be able to use that well. So this is just the drilling of the well to be able to facilitate that testing and move the process forward. That will be covered under the CEDACOG grant, so there really is no outlay to the borough other than their match that they've agreed to previously.
What's the timeline to, once you've submitted a document to them for their docket, how, are you able to change it then? Or is it, once it's in, it's in?
You're able to change it, but the problem is it takes 4 to 6 months for them to review it. So to change it would then continue to push the process out, and we have 2 of these 4 to 6 month windows to go through before our grant expires in August of 2019. So that's part of the reason, we just opened bids today. We want to keep the process moving so that we don't fall off there. They've been very good with discussing that with us, that they're going to try to move the process along. They understand the situation we're in. They understand the delay that we went through with respect to some of the issues with CEDACOG and our discussions with Penn and some other things. So we're in the right spot and the timing is good. So we want to get that hole in the ground essentially and make sure we have water there. That's step 1. So if we don't have water there, it's going to be a problem. And then we move forward with the permitting and paperwork side from there. So still, all in all, that whole process probably will not be done, until July
Right.
of 2019.
I knew there was some discussion with the whole Sunshine Hill thing, and I didn't know if there was any way to do them together, just because of how hard it is to get through the SRBC.
Well, the good thing is that once we get through this docket process, we'll be permitted for the full load, the full draw from all the wells within the borough.
Okay.
So really at that point, if that were to all shake out or something were to occur that we would want to make some kind of interconnection, I believe at that time we'll have some additional water to offer.
Perfect.
That timing may not work, it may not go anywhere, but even if they do what they're gonna do and we do what we're gonna do, that connection, in a time of drought or whatever you wanna call it, we should really think about that in the future. And part of the long-term planning would be to get some big pipe down High Street, help the chief out, and then also, potentially make that connection in the future, so.
Perfect. Okay.
So we would recommend, that's a separate document, that we award that contract to Eichelbergers in the amount of $47,182.50.
Wait, what? Oh, got it.
So you're looking for action on that tonight, right?
Yes, now that does have to go to CEDACOG to be reviewed, so it's really contingent upon their review, but we would like at least council to make, authorize us to issue notice of award and get that process moving.
I'll make the motion that we authorize.
Yeah, it's further down the agenda.
Oh,
I mean, if you want to do it
Just
now.
'cause, you can do it now, but there's lots of them, because we're gonna.
yeah, it was under mine, yeah.
Is,
We can save it.
back to the Elm Street, I'm assuming there's not an issue that we only got one bid, because we advertised it, did everything okay.
Correct.
So we don't have to go out and try to get additional. Okay. Anything else?
The other thing, we did set our control at the Locust Street retaining wall we talked about before.
Okay.
We have our monitoring point set, and we're going to turn those over to the road crew to be able to take a look at.
Anything else from you, sir? At this point? Anything else for the engineer at this point? Okay. Mr. Hook?
Good evening. I hope everybody has a copy of the wastewater report that we've generated for the month of December. I'm looking at the wastewater and I'm seeing improper months and dates and everything, but I do know the numbers are correct. Quickly, on the wastewater, the first line on the action items, the SPR decant actuator, it is received. We did get it in this week. It is on hand. That is a spare. If we have an event that one of the two fail, we got one on hand, so that will be off this next month. I do expect the check valve to be in shortly, item number 2. And number 3 item, we made some adjustments to the current actuator, and it is currently operating properly. We did have some alarm action in the past couple days that affected action number 4. which is an air relief valve, and I think I'm working with Greg on how, where we need to do some work there, so he's looking into placement, where we need to tap a hole, whatever, so. The remaining items, Greg's talked about Elm Street manholes, smoke testing, that's gonna be for a little bit better weather conditions. I have been in touch with Aqua Aerobics on the SBR control panel. I wanna get a number from them before I just have them come in, because they will charge us for travel, whatever. So before I have them just come in, I wanna get a number and have it brought before you guys, so there's no surprise. I do not have anything new to add to that current list. On the water side of things, we did replace or fix a few water leaks in the past couple of weeks. We are still watching for possibly some more leaks. We are producing and keeping after our current demand, but I'm nervous that if we have more leaks, you know, with well one being out of service, how much longer can we continue to go with more, you know, without that well? So the 31% loss probably is accurate, because we did find and repair 2 leaks, and water was shut off to a residence in town. So we had at least 3 known addresses with how long they've been leaking. That's what we don't know, but we did find some, and Mike and the guys are still looking for others, so. Don't have anything else to bring forth at this time. Anybody have questions?
Anything for Mr. Hope? Thank you, sir. Mr. Dissinger, anything for us?
Good evening.
Good evening.
A couple of items. I had reviewed and spoken with the folks at AMPO Inc. Passed that along, probably put that on an agenda for another meeting.
I think that was, I have to check the minutes, but I think it was approved subject to your review, if I'm not mistaken.
I am approving it for the simple reason that it allows them to make the contracts that allows them to fulfill their contract with us. Now, the issue there is we're not all that happy with our current contract with them, but this designation of AMP as agent has a provision in it, and this is their form, that this declaration can be terminated providing 30 days written notification to AMP. So it would actually put us in a stronger position in dealing with them, and we should keep that in mind as we move forward. We may want to review that at some point. So I'll put in the minutes that I've reviewed this and will approve. And I even spoke with them, because I was a little puzzled about the agreement. It's apparently something that they say was anticipated by your original agreement, but never actually done. So anyway, I think it's a good idea, and I will approve it. I've been talking with Henkels and McCoy. There were some minor revisions I wanted to your ongoing contract with them. We don't have it nailed down yet, but I don't anticipate that's going to be any problem. We'll advise. Worked on the game commission management business. That'll come up later, and we can talk about that. Then, big item I have is that the conservation easement is in final form. As you know, we've had the title searched, produced 92 pages of exceptions, which went off to the powers that be, the legal department with the Nature Conservatory, and they have approved them all as exceptions. In other words, they will not take them as being an objection to title. So we've included them as exceptions to the title, which they will approve. We placed them within the agreement and have got the agreement to the point where it can now be signed. It's already been approved. So we would anticipate the president signing it. Your signature will need to be notarized. I have a notary in my office. If you need me to send her up, I can do that, or you can stop in, or whatever would be convenient. Okay. This will then go off to the Nature Conservancy, and then they have a period of 20 days to pay the first option, the option payment, the 100,000. Okay, then that bond, of course, we're bound into going ahead with the various phases. Now they're anticipating not phasing in the easement. They've gotten their grant. They're very comfortable with it. They're ready to proceed on the whole ball of wax. And as a matter of fact, I was contacted about changing the option to get rid of the phases, which I determined there was no necessity to. There was no reason to revisit it and rewrite it and go through.
Only if they wanted to extend it, but not paying it sooner,
Yeah.
we accounted
But they
for that.
but they already can do that.
Right.
So we're in quite good shape there. We should have the 100,000 coming in very shortly, and I would expect that they'll be moving along on settlement on the easement itself in a very short period of time. So, end of my report.
Very good, thank you. Anything for the solicitor? Thank you, sir. Fire chief. That is you.
Just a couple things. We had, I did drop off a copy of the annual fire call report, and one highlight I would like to make is, and it's like the last couple pages. It's an activity report, and it has the hours and amounts of times things were accomplished in different categories. But if you would see that the documented hours that your volunteers provided last year were over in excess of 7,000 hours, documented. So you could easily triple that with the amount of time that people go in the firehouse. They were just doing normal business, you know, whether they're there staffing the firehouse, working out, whatever they're doing, volunteering their time. If there's a fire call, they're still there. But those are just, like I said, the documented hours that were on calls, trainings, outside trainings, maintenance nights, things like that. So that was in there, and it does break it down. With outside trainings is the very last one category there, and then it breaks it down with our hours on what all we do. As far as the calls, maintenance, fire company, you know, our in-house training, all that kind of stuff. So gives you a good idea where we spend most of our time when we're there. The other thing, the aerial was tested in day after Christmas. Passed again, no repairs required. That'll be the next test will be done by the company that remounts it on the new chassis. So we won't need another test on our own done until 2019. Like I said, it needs no repairs, so it's going, probably leave sometime in April or May. We will have a loaner, almost just like the same one, and so we won't be without an aerial for the time it's going to get remounted, and it'll probably be back here. We're targeting sometime around November in that area to be back in full service with the new aerial. And one other thing, I'm glad you brought up the water project up Sunshine Hill, because I had a conversation with Henry Holman, councilman, or the supervisor Holman now. The hydrant they have at the top of the new hydrant they just put in is not the same as the boroughs. Would you be able to forward Penn Township the spec of the hydrants that are in?
I can get that, yeah.
Yeah, if you get that to them, please, because the project, when it goes off at Sunshine Hill, I think they're putting in some more hydrants, and then plus the planned development off of 849 at the old Beers Farm is back on the table again. So, and there's a lot of fire hydrants in there, and if we could get that to them so they know what I did try to explain it to Henry a little bit what the difference is, but if they could have that spec, that'd be great.
Chris, if you want to, you can throw that in my mailbox, because we have sewer this week. If you find it by then, you can throw it in my mailbox, and I'll see Henry on Thursday. So.
All right.
That's it.
Thank you. Anything for the chief? All right.
New council, new year, reorganized. Is there anything you want to see from the fire company any different? I know we will update our officer list, few have changed, so we get that to you every year. Our financial report hopefully will be done a lot earlier this year than it was last year. The audit committee's already planned a meeting, and treasurer's getting everything in line, so we are well ahead of last year's. So we hope to have that to you here probably sometime in March, April at the very latest, so.
I don't know of anything right now in particular, but we know where to find you.
You bet.
Thank you. Mayor Capomono.
So, January 10th, I attended the elected officials day at the farm show. Governor Wolf was there. It was interesting from an agricultural standpoint, but it was good. I was sitting with all the PSAB guys, so always good little FaceTime with them. And then Chris and I attended a meeting with the interim president for Perry County Historical Society about Clark's Ferry Tavern. So we're kind of in the mix on having some conversations on what that will eventually look like. For the record, they did early on offer it back to us if we wanted it. We graciously said no. But it is going to be interesting going forward that Chris and I and Chris Adams are going to take the lead on having those conversations with them on what can be done with that building. Does have to go back to like 1820 specs is what they have to do with it. But then it is, Dennis Hawker's gotten involved a little bit on what, and Chris, and this is another thing for you to see, if you can find the documentation on the agreement that was made.
I think we obtained it today.
Okay.
I've got to review the files that I got, but I think that's what we got.
Okay, because there was an agreement that I don't think anybody was here on council at the time when it actually happened.
For which?
When the tavern went to, Roger might have been. But there, I know like Dwayne Haymaker and Dennis are the ones that signed, Dennis Hawker are the ones that signed off on this agreement, and it's very specific on what that building can be used for. So, next meeting's 1:30, January 30th.
What time?
4:30, I believe it's here.
Do we need an ad hoc committee for that? In case there's other interest, I wanna make sure that we don't end up with too many folks, but that, everybody that, or those that might have an interest in being a part of it can be a part of it.
Are they still starting the citizens committee too? Because there's been 6 of us already contacted in the last week to join that committee.
Who contacted?
Dennis Hawker, the gentleman from Watts Township, he's the caretaker of the property. He's supposed to be a citizens action group.
It's first I'm hearing.
Because, the interim president of the Historical Society is the one that met with us,
Yeah.
along with their engineer. So if there's a citizens group that's kind of doing it as well, that might be something that's completely separate than what the Historical Society is trying to do.
Yeah.
I think
I
there's
know
a
it's from
steering
districts.
committee.
There is a steering committee. I know that there is a steering
Yeah,
committee that
that's
has some
Citizens and.
citizens on it.
Right.
I don't know that this may be a very tumultuous spot for us to get into. I don't think we can tell folks not to be a part of committees or whatever that they want to. My point is, I want to make sure that we don't have too many borough council representatives somewhere that it appears that decisions are being made outside of, a council forum, so.
Right. Well, I think Chris is the only one that we had talked about from a council perspective.
Yeah, because initially it kind of started from the
The missteps that they had
Yeah.
in January.
so, and that was kind of me because it caught me off guard because I wasn't even aware they were having these meetings or anything, and then I saw in the Perry County Times that it had already happened, so.
So how about we do it like this, if there's anybody else that has interest in being a part of that, get in touch with Chris, we'll see where we're at of how many folks want to be a part of the conversation, and then we'll move forward from there. And, I would just express caution that folks be careful where, where the alignment ends up, because I don't know, I think there's a lot going on in the Historical Society with all of this, so I don't know where that puts us. So, it's almost like they need to get their stuff together and then come to us with a plan.
Yeah, and again, I don't think that they're looking at anything financial. From what I think Chris and I got out of it, is they're looking more at, I think they were very open, that they have 9 properties that were basically given to them that they have no money to maintain. So the past president that kind of just took these buildings because people gave them to them, and now all of a sudden they have all these properties that are falling apart, and that they don't have any way of handling it. So I think it's more of, because it's in the borough, how can we help them through volunteerism, whatever it is, to get that to where that's a functioning building, and maybe it provides taxes, income, something to the borough.
I also am on the Perry County Economic Development Authority, and this was a topic at that table as well. So there's a whole lot of buzz going on about everything. So I think we, take a proactive role, but a cautious role.
Right.
So, anything else? Anything else, Mayor?
That is it.
We also have the report from Tony for the codes enforcement. Does anybody have anything with that?
I had one question, but Tony's coming up here. Chris, do you know, for the person with the 3 unpaid parking tickets, where was that?
Right out here, apparently it was somebody who had moved to town, had multiple vehicles, their friends helping them get them up here, and they had parked a bunch of them. It was right up here, just down from Clark Street, on High Street, and they were parked during the street sweeping period. And that was why they were ticketed.
All right.
So it was the same day, like it wasn't one person,
No,
3 days, it was 3
three different
vehicles, one
owned by
day.
the same guy, I believe, that's what
Okay.
Tony.
And he lives in Penn Township up on the hill. It's not somebody who lives, he's parked them down there.
Gotcha.
Just to have somewhere to park them, or?
That's all I know.
My question
The
is,
bigger,
I just was wondering if it was like down on the square or something.
no,
It just
and
was
the
like-
bigger problem they ran into was that they didn't come in and pay the ticket, and didn't respond until after they got the citation, and then it's too late for Tony to, be able to pull the citation or anything. But Judge McGuire did, found them guilty on all 3 counts, but only fined him for the 1. Seemed like a pretty fair treatment. I mean, I wasn't there, but Tony was satisfied. He felt that it accomplished, for the enforcement purposes, what needed to be done. And
52 letters of first snow, that seems like a lot of letters of warning on the snow.
the first snow, nobody shoveled. That was why we put out the stuff about it, but, and the decision was made, we didn't even, he had so many that we decided to use it as a learning thing, and so the letters were dear resident. He didn't take the time, like normally he'll go into the billing system to find names and address them. I said, Tony, with that many, let's just send them just a warning. It's not a notice that is gonna be enforced later, and snow's gonna be melted before, so that's one of the issues with the snow removal ordinance anyhow. But that was actually something that was discussed a little bit at the revitalization committee, and something that I think we're gonna take a look at in the coming year. I think we have some concerns over defining better the period of time that people have.
The daylight hours.
Yeah, that 12 daylight hours thing, when did the snow stop? And like tonight now, if the snow stops overnight, then 12 daylight hours pretty much means nobody has to shovel their sidewalks all day tomorrow, as long as they shovel them, Thursday morning, because, we only have about 12 hours of daylight, if that, right now. So I don't know what the solution is. A lot of places have 24 hours. I was looking at ordinances other places, so that's something for the committee to take a look at and see if we can find something that gives Tony a little bit better guidelines for his enforcement.
Can chickens shovel?
Yes.
Okay, great.
I have a question.
Sure.
Like I live on a street corner. I live on the corner of High and Ann, okay? And usually the front sidewalk is a lot easier to do. I mean, I can push that all aside. The side sidewalk is like extra wide. You know, like the previous owner told me at one point they had sidewalk and then like grass and then a curb. And they decided to fill that in like around 1970 or something like that. And what I've only ever done, I mean, I've lived here since 2001, is I've shoveled half of that, because it's usually about 3 or 4 feet. I mean, I figure that's enough space for everybody to get through, okay? But I'm one of those people that got the letter.
Our ordinance just says the sidewalk must be cleared. It doesn't say only part of it. That's something else that I think the committee will want to take a look at when we look at that ordinance and see if there's anything to be changed. You know, I don't know. I know there are some places I know have ordinances that have a width that has to be cleared. You know, it makes sense what you're, you know, I mean, I know what you're saying with the situation like that, and especially because, you know, we don't want you pushing it into the street, and we have some people that where they're gonna go.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the counter to that is if it's left on the sidewalk, then the melt is on the sidewalk and turns to ice, and so that's the other side of that. So, I mean, it's something for the committee to take a look at, and you know, we have a lot of ordinances that, you know, they've been there for a long time and maybe need some updating and some modernization or some revisions, and as we come across them, we've been working on that, and I think this is one that we want to take a look at.
Okay. Anything else for codes enforcement?
I have a question. The house that had burnt back last January, I guess, on Ann Street, did Tony get satisfaction with all of his enforcement action there? I understand that the house was broken into last week and there was more activity there.
We have, Tony got satisfaction with everything as far as that he was able to enforce there, yes.
Okay. Do you know if they've been able to re-secure it since it was?
I was not aware that it had been broken into, so.
I just read in the state police report, they found no signs of forced entry.
I was told, my neighbor told me that Dave Keene went up there and helped to secure it. And I don't know whether that was on his work hours or whether he just went up to help out or whatever, but.
I'll have to check into that, because.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that it
Dave
wasn't
shouldn't be
an
doing
ongoing
that, as a borough employee, if he's doing it on his own.
I don't know
that's fine.
what period of time
But-
it was that he was doing it, but.
You know, and like I say, I have, nobody had, it's the first I've heard that it was broken into, I hadn't even heard that, so.
Okay.
I know the complaints in the summer were, from the one neighbor about there had been trash out back, that got taken care of. Actually, we cleaned that up and billed the property owner for that. And grass mowing. He had complaints about the smell from the house, but we went up and checked and it really didn't meet what he had claimed it was. I mean, if you stood right by it, you could smell it, and I don't know, maybe on a real hot day or something with the breeze blowing the right way, but, and we did talk to Bill back then, and there's, you know, limited what we can do other than making sure that, you know, they are required to have the building secured, that is in our ordinances, so. But, you know, we don't have anything that right now that we can force them to tear it down or force them to repair it or anything like that. We don't have, you know, anything in our ordinances that we can enforce on something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure, I think, Bill, isn't that, because you talked at the last meeting about the idea of a fire insurance escrow ordinance. It's not an uncommon problem. That's why a lot of municipalities have that type of thing that Bill had talked about at the last meeting, where that fire insurance money then, you know, if they don't fix it up, that it's an escrow that the borough could take it and use it to fix it up.
My question was mostly just to make sure that it wasn't, you know, it's secured now and it's not an ongoing safety issue.
I'll have to check on it, but,
Okay.
and keep an eye on that.
So this is the one on Ann Street?
Yes.
Yeah, it
117. or
January
119, something
thirteenth,
like
they
that.
investigated an attempted burglary in which someone attempted to open the door of an abandoned house on Ann Street, Duncannon, between December 5th and 6th. Is that what you're talking about?
I thought it was more recent than that.
Is that the only abandoned house on Main Street?
Nope.
I heard something first a month or two ago about it.
I was gonna say, isn't there one across the
Police
street
did
that's
not
boarded
find
up?
any signs of forced entry.
Isn't there one across the street from that that's boarded up? So it might have been that one.
That's, yeah, well, actually, it got bought and it's being worked on now.
So, in essence, there's nothing we can do. Make sure it's secure, and that's it.
If it becomes a public nuisance, there's things we can do, but it's not a public nuisance at this point. We can't make it be pretty. So, I do have a copy of that ordinance. This is the one I happen to have written for Juniata Township, but if you guys want to take a look at it and talk to me, that's it down there. What it does, it allows you to capture some of the fire insurance and everything.
Chris, we'll bring this to your committee
Yes, please.
and then from there to council.
Very good. Anything else for codes? Madam Secretary.
I have nothing to add.
Mr. Manager, sir.
Just two things that are not in my written report, and two things for action that came up after the report was filed. One is we have a cooperative agreement with the Perry County Commissioners that we have to enter into for the CDBG. It's an agreement that they refer to as a sub-grantee agreement. It's a standard form that it has to be done, you know, by the state, the feds, whoever governs this. Matt from CEDACOG was here today. He got here late for the bid opening, but he did stick around and we talked about this. He would ask that we get this executed and to the county in time for them to approve it for their meeting on Monday. I did tell him that if council wants the solicitor to review it, that you know, we may not be able to get it executed that quick, but I don't know that it's something that we can change. I think it's pretty much the standard agreement that we have to. So, if we want to approve that with or without solicitor review, you can take a look at it pretty quickly for us.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's pretty common. I guess because this wasn't on the agenda, we have to offer public comment. So what's the title of that?
Cooperative agreement
With the.
with Perry County Office of Commissioners for, it's odd, it says federal fiscal year 2014. I guess that must be the root of the money from when it was appropriated in CEDACOG.
Okay.
It is dated for 2018. So that is, the agreement is between the county and us as the sub-grantee.
Okay. Is there any wish for action from the table?
We need to take public comment now? How does
Oh,
that-
yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I don't-
Any public comment on the cooperative agreement? Anything? Anybody? Okay.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Just for clarification, is it to approve it or to approve it subject to the attorney review?
Subject to the attorney review.
Okay.
I second
That
that.
is second, okay. Motion by Jeff Kirkhoff, second by Darrell Croswell to approve the cooperative agreement with Perry County, subject to review by the solicitor. Any discussion? All those in favor, please state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And then the other thing is, it's a resolution that's listed as Resolution 1 of 2018. It's identical to a resolution we passed in 2016 after reorganization. And what it is for our signers on the accounts, and this resolution is simply to remove Mr. Nace and replace him with Mr. Kirkhoff as one of our approved signers. And this was, that was the recommendation from the Finance Committee for that change, you know, for who would go on to replace Mr. Nace.
So be it.
Second.
There's a motion by Roger Williams, second by Darrell Crothermel to approve Resolution 1 of 2018, designating the authorized signers for the borough's accounts with Riverview Bank. Any discussion? My only comment is we'll have to fix it. Christie is IE.
I had it right up in the,
It's different places, on the agenda it's
Yeah, your
wrong,
agenda
it's,
format
yeah,
has it that
it's
way.
all good.
My name's spelled wrong in the third paragraph. It's HOFF. It's correct in the second paragraph, wrong in the third paragraph, so.
oops, I missed the H.
It's all, don't worry. It's been wrong a couple hundred times already.
Good
so.
call.
Christie, we'll get a corrected version for you to sign real quick then.
That's fine.
uh,
Yeah.
so we can take
Any other
back to the
discussion?
papers.
I'm assuming do we all have to fill out signer cards
We
for
will
that?
all have to
Alright.
sign them all again, it's like a big party. There's piles of them.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
beautiful.
Unless you wait till everybody else is already done and then show up on your own time.
And then Kathy will check them and tell you the 3 places you missed. Because that happens too. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
That's all that I have for you.
Okay. We'll now move into the approval of the treasurer's report. Did you have anything you wanted to highlight on the treasurer's report or the ratification of the bills?
No, but I did want to say congratulations and welcome to the new council members and to the junior council members. If you have any questions about the reports that you were given, feel free to call me or you can email me. I'm in the office at least 8 to 4 Monday through Friday. I can be available to meet with you if you want in person, over the phone, whatever. Okay? So please feel free to ask if you have any questions, because things can be a little complex sometimes. There's a lot of information. All right? And I'll
Bob's
be-
really good with finger puppets, so he makes it real easy to understand.
It only took the finance committee 6 months to understand. And we still ask questions.
Just say
Yeah, just nod a lot. Okay,
No, I don't have anything in particular.
okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the weekly banking review as treasurer's report subject to audit.
Second.
Can I ask one question? The loans between accounts that we accounted for in our budget, when are we gonna make those transactions?
We can.
I just wondered when you would suggest that we do it. Would you think a mid-year thing, or?
Probably mid-year. 'Cause we have a better idea what our fiscal position is.
I was gonna recommend
Yeah,
that we wait
it's,
just in
the
case.
smart thing was to put it in the budget to show council's intent to pay back the loans, but I wouldn't pay them early in the year. I would pay them at least after mid-year fiscal report, so we've had an opportunity to evaluate our fiscal position then. It's good right now, but who knows?
That was what I was gonna recommend, so
Yep,
that's what I'm like.
good point. Thank you very much.
Motion by Darrell Crothermel, second by Chris Adams to approve the weekly banking review, subject to audit. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And the bills.
Make a motion that we ratify and approve the bills.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Crothermel, second by Mr. Adams to review and, or to approve the bills, ratify and approve, pardon me. Any discussion? All those in favor, please state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Madam President, before we move forward on the agenda, Finance Committee we had informed the Finance Committee, meaning our borough manager and myself, that we were made known that a local township had negotiated with their bank to increase their interest rates for their business checking accounts. Finance Committee, gave us the okay to go ahead and told us to go ahead and do that. So I contacted Pamela Patterson of Riverview Bank, and she actually just responded today. It's short. It says, in follow-up response to our Friday conversation, your attached email, the request for interest rate increase match of 0.65%. Currently, we're paid 0.20%. on the checking accounts has been forwarded for approval. So I was sort of hoping to have a determination. They meet every Tuesday, but I guess they wanted to review this first. So I just wanted council to know that your administration's working hard to try and, pinch every penny and wring every penny we can out of what we have. So hopefully we'll have something, maybe by Finance Committee in February regarding that. So that was it.
Okay, thank you. So under Finance Administration and Communication, I'm gonna turn that back over to you anyway, Bob, and you can do your thing.
Okay. First and foremost, and again at the Finance Committee meeting earlier in the month, I had proposed, before we close out the 2017 fiscal year, calendar year, the Borough Council appears to have adopted what's called a line item budget. I mean, it looks like the way it was advertised and made available to the public, all these line items in the documents that I give you. There's an appropriation, a budget, for every account code. That being said, I've recommended to the Finance Committee, and they supported this recommendation, that I forward to Council proposed budget transfers to clean up the accounts. In other words, for all the budgeted funds, there's surpluses in certain expenditure line items, but there's deficits in other line items. So the whole idea is just to prepare budget transfers, taking money from this account to put it in that account and vice versa. I went ahead and did that, developed an Excel spreadsheet application for it. And that's what you have before you. It's a document that says final 2017 budget. It says as amended 0104. That was the date of the Finance Committee meeting. Okay, if council approves this document tonight, I will change the date to be tonight, tonight's date. The only other comment that I made to the committee was one fund actually did not have enough budget within its appropriation to cover the shortfalls. In other words, every other fund, except the water fund, had the ability to transfer surpluses from here to cover deficits there within its own fund. But the water fund had a deficit, had a budget deficit. Now fortunately, all of the funds have what's called unreserved fund balance. And council can appropriate unreserved fund balance to help balance the budget. The water fund we had to do that for the water fund. So in the budget transfers that are proposed, you'll see unreserved fund balance, like retained earnings, profit. I don't know how else to explain it to you. After all your assets, all your liabilities, there's money or balance left over. So that was it. So that's included in this as well.
Unrestricted net assets, I guess what it would be technically called.
Yeah, I was just trying to make it more simple.
That's your Fund 6.
Fund 6 is the water
Yeah, it's
fund.
water,
Right.
if you want to see where that is. Did anybody have any specific questions for Bob regarding these transfers? Yes, sir.
What was the deficit in that water?
It was,
Is that the 95?
yes,
95,228. It's Fund 6, the pages aren't numbered, but if you get past number 1, which is the general fund, it's the first page where the numbers on the left start out with 06.
Okay.
And it's the first 10 lines in the revenue side.
Just so that we can be clear on it, do we know what led to the unbudgeted expenses in water?
pardon me?
Do we know what led to the unbudgeted expense, what condition led to the unbudgeted expenses in water?
Oh, a lot of it had to do with engineering fees and chemicals. Those were the two biggies, really big.
And the reservoir repair, I don't think we had, it was not budgeted. We were looking at financing that and ended up not.
Any other specific questions? General questions?
Do you need those as separate motions or just a motion to approve?
Just a motion to approve.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the amended budget from 2017.
Second.
Motion by Darrell Crossermill, second by Roger Williams to approve the amended budget for 2017. Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor, please state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Second item on the agenda under finance. The administration brought to the Finance Committee a request to extend Michael Filanowski's audit preparation agreement. Council will remember in August, September of last year, Council approved a not to exceed $9,000 amount for Michael to assist me in preparing for the 2016 audit. Through the end of this year, he's actually through the end of this year, 2017, excuse me, he's only billed and we've only paid for half of that $9,000 amount. So the other roughly $4,500 still remains. And we still have some outstanding items that we're having trouble reconciling, he and I together, that I've asked the Finance Committee to extend that contract. Mr. Filanowski did provide an agreement amendment, one-page amendment to the committee. It had originally stated a 60-day extension, but I was asking council if it is so inclined to approve this, to just make it go till 12/31/18, just to give us the flexibility. If there's anything left over and we find out we want them to help us on something else, then it's in place. We're not asking council to add any more money to the pot, but just in case. So that is what Filanowski's extension agreement's about.
So as clarification, the request is to extend the length of the contract, not the amount or value of the contract.
That is correct.
Is there a particular end date you have in mind?
I was just going to say 12/31/18.
So be it.
Second.
Motion by Roger Williams, second by Darrell Crothermel to extend the Mike Filanowski agreement till December 31st, 2018. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Is that all the dollar sign stuff you've got, Bob?
Yes, it is, unless council has any other questions.
Committee meetings?
Yeah, we're gonna do that, but that doesn't have dollars assigned to it necessarily. The committee meetings, did everybody, Chris, get back to you regarding when they wanted to have meetings? Okay, so what, well, I guess do we first have to make the agreement on the meetings? The recommended, does anybody have any feedback or comments on the recommended meetings that I handed out last month? Is everybody okay with their assignments and where they ended up?
I just need to change my time, my fellow committee members, and I negotiated some more on site here, so we need to flex the time to make sure everyone can make it.
Okay, so, and I feel very unprepared because I forgot to bring my own list, but,
For revitalization.
Yes, revitalization.
right, but, so the committees are finance, the finance committee stays pretty much the same. It's the finance, communication, and administration, chaired by Jeff. No?
No.
Oh, chaired by
Finance committee,
Daryl,
yeah.
I'm sorry, with Jeff and,
You.
yes, thank you. Good lord. I don't even know where I'm supposed to
For
be.
that meeting, based on our discussion and my follow-up discussion with Bob, we want to move that to the first Tuesday at 7 p.m.
Okay.
7.
Is that all right? Okay. I'm sorry, I thought I brought that up last month. If I didn't, I apologize.
So, finance, administration, and communication, members, Chair Darrell Crothermel, members Jeff Kirkhoff, Christy Young. Meeting time first Tuesday of each month at 7 PM. Did you double check the calendar? Are there any conflicts?
I did not check for holidays or anything.
All right, we'll just have to double check holidays on that one. Personnel, legal, and IT. I remain I'll be the chair of that with members Michael May and Lisa Landis. And we're gonna keep that before
I was gonna ask if you switch that, because meeting right before the council meeting, then we don't have any time to inform council if there's action items and so forth. It really,
do you have a recommendation?
any time that would give us time to get things into the packets and information to council prior to meetings.
Second Tuesday, Christie?
The revitalization's already then. Does that? You could do the first or second Thursday. 'Cause
Second
there's some-
Thursday, there is a meeting here.
That would, actually, if you kept it at 6 PM, 6 PM doesn't work for you though. Right.
It's not on the other.
Okay.
6:15.
I was gonna say you could schedule it before the revitalization meeting, but 6 is a strain for her.
Is 45 minutes typically enough time to
I
cover?
think it's been most of the,
Yeah. Okay, so we'll move the personnel, legal, and IT to the second Tuesday at 6:15 PM. So then revitalization and public safety will be the first, or the second Tuesday at 7 PM. Infrastructure, utilities, facilities, streets and fleet, Jeff Kirkhoff as chair, members Roger and Chris Adams, still the second Thursday at 6. Is that still good for you guys? I forgot, revitalization, the chair is Chris Adams, members are Daryl and Lisa. Parks and Recreation, Chair Roger, members Chris Adams and Michael May. Fourth Tuesday at 7, still good for you?
Yep.
Okay. And then we already took care of the council meetings because we already changed May's meeting. Is there any other input, recommendations, ideas, anything anybody wants to see committee-wise? We will, I think, if everybody's had an opportunity to look over the summary meeting of the meetings, the idea is to put down kind of minutes of what you talked about, and then probably the more important part is the action items. So out of your committee, what items do you want brought to the table for us to take action on? The work should really be being done in the committees and coming here to be reviewed and approved. So if you have any questions about that document, let me know, and we'll get you straight. Mr. Williams, Mr. Kirkhoff,
same thing.
Mr. Somebody.
Yeah.
The utilities meeting and the council meeting, I'd like those to continue to be advertised also as sewer meetings in case sewer authority members show up.
Thank you, good catch.
I don't have that list at all, so I'm gonna need that.
Okay.
No, I'm trying to write fast.
I'm gonna steal Chris's,
Okay. we can copy
and
it.
I'm going to make the changes and I'll send it to you electronically.
That's perfect.
And if you don't have it in 2 days, remind me that I told you I'd do that.
I won't get there in 2 days.
Okay. Okay, so, do I need to run through those as a summary again so that someone can make a motion? You're clear? Is everybody clear? Everybody good?
I'd like to make a motion that we advertise the committee meetings as discussed tonight.
Outstanding. Second, or a motion by Daryl Crothermill, second by Chris Adams to approve the meetings as discussed here at the table. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I don't think I have anything else from finance. Did you? You don't have anything else from finance?
Along the lines of the committees and senior council, on how we want them, whether we're going to assign a mentor for each one, I mean, I still like having them rotate through each committee. Now granted, now 4 of them are on Tuesdays, which actually works for the 2 of them. But I'd like to, we still need to get a little bit of structure on how we want to do that.
There was a concern or discussion regarding clearances. Is a clearance necessary if it's a public meeting?
You should name like a supervisor for them who should be cleared. You should then.
But the struggle is they wouldn't, if the goal is to let them rotate through each meeting so that they're learning about everything, because the assumption is they don't know what they want to be when they grow up yet. I don't know, so I'm assuming they don't know. So how would we have there wouldn't necessarily be a designated individual.
There should be.
Would that person be responsible to be with them at every
Yes.
committee?
And then there could be several,
Well-
like one on each committee or
So I
something.
think
Shouldn't it be, if, let's just pretend Roger's the mentor.
Yeah.
So Roger would have his clearances. I
Please
don't think
no.
he'd want to do it anyways. But, and there was a committee meeting that Roger didn't go to, but they went to. And like, they should still be fine to go to a committee meeting where you have however many other adults. But if it was a one-on-one meeting, it should be with the mentor.
There should be, every time they're here, there should be someone in charge who has gotten their clearance. Now, it doesn't have to be the same person.
Or parent.
So if they
Or
came
parent,
out
yeah,
and helped
that's-
me with Parks and Rec, I should be.
So I think one of the things Chrissy and I talked about is if every council member and myself get our clearances, it's a grand total of what would we say, $10?
$80, I think.
Yeah, $80 total.
Right,
I mean-
$10 a person, right.
Right, $10 a person. This way, when they're there, if they need to go out to a revitalization with Lisa and Chris, and or they go out with Roger, we're covered as a borough. I think that would make the most sense. And then I'll just take the lead on making sure which committees that they're going to throughout the year. And if everybody has their clearances, we don't have to worry about it.
That'll work.
Can we also make you the lead on getting everybody's clearances and then turning all that over to Chris?
Yep.
One, I will ask, you can go ahead first.
Bill, I have a question in that, for my employment, I regularly get my clearances, and I
Sure.
just updated them. Would that be applicable? Could I just bring a copy, submit that, save us a few dollars?
No, we have to have the original.
No, you
You
have
need
to,
the original?
yeah.
Okay.
it doesn't work. It doesn't sound right. It sounds stupid.
No, if my
That's the
work
way-
will take a copy, if my employer will take a copy, can I bring you the original that's already paid for?
No, we have to do it.
So, okay, then let me back up, because the DPW, the Department of Public Welfare one is typically free for volunteer work, but technically we're not volunteers.
If
So
we were,
we're-
it wouldn't be a problem.
So we have to,
Duncannon
Craig, you're
Appalachian
welcome.
Trail Community is looking for volunteers who could be a volunteer.
it's a different hat though when we're here. So that's gonna increase the cost, because we're gonna have to do the cost of both, but I get it. So,
I
so
still
do
think
we
there
need-
should be a supervisor appointed, even if everybody's clear.
I
There
don't,
still be somebody who's in charge.
I don't understand how a council person could be the supervisor though, because that really limits what they can go to anyways. Do you know
Well,
what I mean?
that's if John coordinates it, and, when they come to my meeting,
Yeah, that's why I think it has to be.
maybe the chair's in charge,
Yeah, I'm just saying, it almost has to be the mayor, because then they can go to any meeting. And if they can't go to any meeting, that loses some of the learning process, so.
Right. So, so do we need a motion from the table to make that expense?
I'd like to get it into the record. Yeah.
We gotta find out what the expense is first.
I'll find it.
I think it's 8 and 10. I think it'll be,
8.
I don't think it'll be more than $20 per person. Is it DPW's 8 and state's 10? Do you know?
I thought DPW doesn't exist anymore.
DOH,
DHS.
DHS, EIEIO, alphabet soup. Sorry to everybody at DHS that I offended. Is it 8 and 10?
They're 10.
Both are 10.
And I think the criminal is 10 as well.
Okay.
So if you do state police and the DHS clearance, you can do them both online and have them back pretty quickly, typically, for $20.
Okay.
Would it since the manager attends most of those as well, would it be a bad idea to spend $20 more and have a manager there?
Makes sense.
Sounds like a spectacular idea to me.
Yeah, I mean, why not? It couldn't hurt anything.
Right.
It's $20. Like I said, going forward, when we advertise this program, it's something to add in the advertisement that, hey, everybody's background check, everything's clear.
So we're talking about a grand total of $100 to get it
Right.
done.
Right.
Yes.
Make a motion that we have clearances done for all applicable personnel with a cost not to exceed $200.
I'll second that.
Ms. Landis showed up at the table.
Yeah.
Motion by Darrell Croswell, second by Lisa Landis, to move forward with the appropriate clearances for the appropriate individuals, not to exceed $200. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Way to hijack the finance committee there, John.
Well, since I couldn't make it this month, I figured I might as well just take control of it.
Anything else for finance, administration, and communication? Mr. Williams, Parks and Recreation.
Nothing until after next Tuesday. We're planning our spring and summer functions. So until after next Tuesday, I don't know dates.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good.
Personnel, legal, and IT. I guess nobody's responsible for this.
That's you.
One of the, I guess, one of the documents that was in your packets was the approval for the Game Commission Habitat Agreement. This is to allow them to move forward with the work on the invasives.
Yeah, I got spooked about the conservation easement. What we've been doing has been negotiating acceptance of the various things which bind the property itself with the Nature Conservancy, accepting them as not objections to title, or if they are, not being sufficient to kick it off. And this comes perilously close to forest management, which they're going to be in charge of, as well as being some sort of a almost a lien. It's not going to be recorded because it's not notarized, but nevertheless, in my little lawyer's brains, it looks like a mortgage to me. Okay, so what I did instead of adding it to the list of objections to title and getting it reapproved, I just said you should approve this subject to the Nature Conservancy agreeing to and joining in this. So I would suggest that you adopt this agreement. It's what's anticipated. I'm sure the Nature Conservancy people will have no objection to it. They rounded them up for us. But nevertheless, I've got to make sure that I don't give their legal department a reason to object to us what looked like putting a lien on the property after they've come to an agreement that we won't do that. So
Gotcha.
that's just an abundance of caution. Kind of my job.
That's why you're here.
So I just added language that says that you enter into the agreement with the Game Commission, and then just language that the Nature Conservancy does hereby approve the private cooperative habitat agreement between Pennsylvania Game Commission and Duncannon Record and joins in the same.
So that's already in, that's not in this one, because this is their form, right?
Yeah, I had facts over it, but I'll give you.
Yeah, that, you sent that over later.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, and the
Here,
motion would be to approve it conditioned upon the game committee, the conservancy approving it.
Right.
Right, because what this is looking like is, it's triplicate. It's there for copy,
And then
the Fusion copy.
Yeah, that's because when we printed the document, we realized it. And when we
So-
caught that, we said, well, we could just give one to each, but it was already printed, so.
So I guess
A little bit more.
my thought would be they're not gonna do this. because they've already got their standard form.
You mean the game commission?
Correct.
This is the same language, only a thing on the end for the,
It doesn't,
Nature
doesn't
Conservancy
change the form.
to agree to it too.
Okay, because my recommendation was going to be that we do it and the Nature Conservancy signs one too. Then we made it contingent on them also signing
They
one.
they have to agree to this
Okay,
specifically. They have to join in. That's a specific term of art about real estate.
Okay.
So I would, I'll make it good with the game commission and.
okay, because when you see it in triplicate, they tend to not like to change it, so that was my concern.
If there's any language.
Okay, does anybody else want to look at this? It's, yeah, he read the language. He added
the
it.
change.
Conservancy edited copy.
Is there any wish for action from the table?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the private cooperator habitat agreement on the commission that the Nature Conservancy joins in the same.
Second.
Motion by Darrell Crothermel, second by Chris Adams to approve the Pennsylvania Game Commission private cooperator habitat agreement on the condition that the Nature Conservancy agree to the same. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The recommendation from the committee to hire Keith Mutzaball and Devin Anderson on with the Public Works, part-time regular employees at $10 per hour. I know there's been discussion, I mean, I'm not comfortable making motions as chair, and it's a whole Robert's Rules thing, so I guess somebody else is gonna have to make that motion if you wanna hire them.
I'll make a motion, we hire both Keith and Devin at $10 an hour, part-time.
I'll second.
I was just gonna start talking.
Motion by Lisa Landis, second by Jeff Kirkhoff to approve hiring of Keith Mutzaball and Devin Anderson as part-time public works laborers at $10 per hour. Any further discussion?
Just for the public, these are two fellows who are already working for us as temps. A while back, council approved us to hire some temps for Public Works, and we did so in part to use it as an evaluation, looking for, to fill part-time positions. They kind of self-eliminated. We had the 4 temps, and we're down to these 2 that are still, that didn't find something else, didn't go anywhere else, and we were looking to hire 2. Anyhow, this is Mike Crowley's recommendation as well as mine, that we keep these 2.
No, you should have told us that first.
You can still vote against.
I figured you already knew.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Public safety, Mr. Crothermel.
Meeting was canceled as of last month, so we didn't meet this month. You'll see that public safety is being folded into revitalization. Look forward to cooperating with the new committee on that. So I guess, is there anything from the table or floor you wanted to discuss regarding public safety?
Keep this as public safe. Okay, utilities, streets, and infrastructure, Mr. Kirkhoff.
All right, I'll start with the 2 projects to approve. First one, I'm gonna ask that we, do you wanna do it? I'll do it. We need to award the bid for the Elm Street project, $28,045 to Regal Inc.
That's option 3, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
option 3. I believe you all have the little packet for it.
Motion on table, is there a second?
I didn't know.
Second.
Motion by Jeffrey Kirkhoff to approve the Revell Inc. Bid for the Elm Street Sewer Project, option 3 at $28,045. Seconded by Roger Williams. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Right, I'm also gonna ask that we approve the acceptance of Eichelberger's Inc., $47,182.50 for well number 7. And that's subject to review by CEDACOG.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Jeff Kirkhoff to approve the well number 7 bid from Eichelberger's Incorporated for $47,182.50, subject to approval by CEDACOG. So that motion was seconded by Chris Adams. Any further discussion? Yes?
Can I ask a question of the engineer? There was a project that Eichelberger's owed us some work or some follow-up or some finish. Has that been completed?
No, it's not.
That's been an ongoing project for a couple of years. Months. Okay.
So, can you elaborate on that?
There was some work done at well number 1, where a incorrect pitless adapter was installed. I think we discussed this at the committee level. With what we are doing with well number 1, we are actually eliminating the need for this pitless adapter completely. It is a less expensive alternative than installing the pitless adapter, which DEP is requiring us to do. So that process caused us to shift to replacing the entire building, which gets us out of having to put this pitless adapter in. The cost to replace the building will probably be at or slightly less than what it would cost to put this piece in. And that wasn't necessarily Eichelberger, it was DEP. However, Eichelberger did install the incorrect adapter, which we're going to eliminate completely. So that's where we're at.
Was the incorrect adapter, was that part of our bid or request of them?
So what had happened is we got a price from them. The original price did not include that adapter. That adapter was not installed, and then when DEP came back, they said that adapter wasn't acceptable because it was in that pit configuration. So that adapter will be eliminated as part of this project. Well done project.
So Bill, does that, having that kind of past relationship with them, are they still eligible, still in good standing and able to bid and be
Yes,
contracted?
unless you want to deem them to be ineligible because of past practices. It doesn't sound to me like it's the sort of thing that would.
And the dollar value that we calculated, we're talking about a $1,000 issue here. Their bid is almost $20,000 less than the next bidder. For the purposes of disqualification, I don't think that's a recommendation.
In your opinion, have they done everything you would expect to make that right?
I think they owe us a little more than what they've given us so far, but we are going to do, we still have to do some additional modification to well 1 when we do this building. It's our intent to take it out of them at that point.
I see. But they've been cooperative thus far?
They have, yes,
Okay.
generally, so.
What time period was this project in?
Which one?
The one that there's a discrepancy on, the
It
pitless
was,
adapter.
the well number 1 work was done in,
July.
this summer. The casing extension and new columns and doors and that.
I'm just wondering if there's something we could be doing internally to improve the communication or make sure that,
We've already addressed this issue on, I'll say, the staff level. Part of the problem was that a spec went out, there was some pricing that was garnered from a spec that wasn't reviewed, and we've addressed that particular issue so that doesn't happen again.
Chris, are you comfortable working with them? I mean,
Yes.
you don't have any concerns? Okay, okay. Any other discussion? Is everybody clear on the motion? Do I have to rattle it again? Thank you. All those in favor, please state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Is that all the action you needed from us this evening? Okay.
All right. I had two other things on my committee that I wanted to ask, kind of. One was just because, Greg, I meant to ask you, the cost for the standpipe, you had that listed on your report. Can you get a price, like an estimate on that you can send for utilities committee and sewer authority to look over?
Yeah, we actually already did.
Okay.
It's got some age to it, but we get.
Oh, the old one, okay, so that's still,
280.
okay. So that's
And
still,
that
I
is
wanted to make
part-
sure,
I'm sorry.
go ahead, that's.
That is part of the capital projects plan that we're working on as well.
Yeah, I figured, that's why I wanted to make sure that we
Yes.
had it, so, okay. And then, I guess this kind of, we talked about it at Utilities and Mid, it's been talked about kind of everywhere, the Penvest loan for the sewer. Where do we stand at for getting that to Penn? Remember how we were talking about the dates and?
We will, Jay is going to be at the finance meeting.
Correct.
And we'll be getting that all updated. The problem that we have right now is just nailing down exactly what projects we're financing, because since we started the whole process, for example, the reservoir we were going to finance, and then that came and went before we could get the bank financing. So we're working to get that revised list so that we know exactly what we're looking at, what will be in the bank financing, what would be in the Penvest. So that, the plan is to have that for you for finance, and, you know, obviously then streets and utilities looking at in terms of capital improvement plan as well. So, yeah, we need to get that moving, and that is why we were talking about some of these projects that I met with Greg last week.
Is that part of the 400,000 that he needs in August?
No, that is just the screw press.
Right, but.
That is part of it, but it's a question of will that be through bank financing or
And that was
will
kind
that be
of my point,
Penvest?
that the closer we get, if we're talking August,
Oh, yeah.
September, when we start hitting February, March, and we need them, and we're looking at a bank, we're gonna start running into it taking some time to do.
The 400,000 is just, that's the pressing issue. The rest of it is the.
Right.
Where we haven't decided, because, I mean, just for everybody, we've talked about originally $3 million about, you and, I know this was started just spitball and then it came more. But now, I was looking at some of the projects with Chris at our meeting, and some of the numbers are well below what I thought they would be. Like, well below, we're talking like a couple $100,000 below. So we can look at whether we want to do some more projects where we're doing more sewer lines, rather than just being at the plant, which is what originally was basically just, for you guys' knowledge, replacing the plant. The easiest way to put it was fixing everything at the plant. Now it may be able to encompass some other things too.
I think we're gonna have a pretty significant renovation, I'll call it, of the Headworks building, which dates back to the 60s, so that's certainly, well, the original piece of it needs some work, and then beyond that, as Jeff said, reaching out a little bit into the system now and trying to figure out what's.
So are we gonna do another RFP for that, though? If we're going back to the banks?
I mean, that one, well, that's for Penvest. That's always been, the 400,000 is essentially one thing at this point. I mean, it could encompass others, but it's mostly the screw press.
Okay.
The Penvest is like the 3 million where it's, I mean, that's never had an RFP or anything. I mean, that's just.
And Jay Winger had said that we would issue a new RFP after we get to 2016 audit.
Yeah.
Because that was the big stumbling block
Right.
last year.
Yeah,
was not
most
having
banks
that
will
audit.
look at it without that.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I had.
Anything else for Jeffrey? Chicken Man, revitalization and development, Mr. Adams.
I do not have anything to report this month. At the next meeting, we'll work on the direction of the committee with the new members and how we're gonna integrate public safety. So it'll be a good time for the population at large to show up to see which way we're directing the committee if they would like to.
Well, I think you did a good job in the last committee of kind of getting some of the things on paper, what you want to
Yes.
do.
Yeah.
So I think that is a good thing for the public to come to see the direction that you're going with the town.
Absolutely. A lot of stuff in the air, a lot of moving pieces going on. It's not. No action items at this time, though, Madam President.
Thank you, sir. Anything for Mr. Adams? Is it appropriate to add junior council as a committee and give them an opportunity to speak if they choose a delegate and so choose? Do you ladies have anything you wanted to add?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. We could add them to the regular agenda. Any unfinished business? We'll put you at the end, that way you're so tired that you just won't. I'm just kidding.
Everybody's just waiting to leave.
Any other unfinished business?
Junior council members are holding us up.
Finally, someone's gonna be after me.
Mr. Croswell?
Where do we stand with the refuse bids that we received back in November?
The
Follow up
the
with
finance
those?
committee reviewed them and their recommendation was not to proceed because it would, at this time, the numbers just didn't benefit us. It would have ended up being more expensive even with the low bidder than it is for us to do it ourselves right now. And so when we reviewed that, the finance committee's recommendation was to not recommend any action. That's why you haven't seen anything come to council.
Okay.
Which one did we ask?
Refuse.
Got it.
Any other concern was it's already, even with the bid, it was going to be more expensive, and we were concerned about escalation.
Right.
Because it seemed like they came in fairly low, and after that time period was over, they may escalate.
Initially, it looked good, but what would it look like in 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was close when we looked at the numbers in November, but it was below. And we also have to consider that we weren't considering any depreciation or replacement.
It was
plan for the
below
truck.
originally, but if you'll recall, I think you were still on the committee at that point. We had said that that was with my analysis, but I was gonna ask Bob to double check the numbers. Because he was so tied up with the 2016 stuff and stuff. When he went back and looked at the numbers that he had given me to make those calculations, he realized that when he looked at salaries, he had forgotten Mike's salary, which is split amongst the funds, was not included in the numbers that he was looking at. When we recalculated it, it came out that it would have been a little bit more expensive going outside, because what we did was we calculated all of our fixed costs that would remain, administrative costs and so forth, and that we have to cover from the refuse fund, and then deducted out all the expenses that we actually incur for the operations, and looked at how much would we have to add to what those bids were to cover those administrative costs that we would still have. And that ended up being, I want to say, 70 or 80 cents each month higher.
It was approaching $1, I remember
Yeah,
that.
it was close to $1 a month higher.
Okay,
Once the
I
numbers
must
were
have missed the meeting or part of the meeting where that tabulation was presented, because I don't recall
Yeah,
that
that was
discussion
at the
all.
following meeting then.
Yeah, it was.
When it was brought
December
back.
meeting?
Yeah,
It
Jeff.
was December, okay, and I ended up with a late call that night, so I was at that meeting. Could I get a tabulation of that? Do you email it to me, or
Yeah.
whatever form you have it in?
Any other unfinished business? Hearing none. Any new business?
Yes. Bill,
Yes, sir.
can us as council members have a workshop session, say on a Saturday morning, to tour the borough facilities? Does that need to be
There
advertised as
is a
such?
definition of workshop which is exempt from the requirements, but it is my recommendation that simply be an advertised meeting that moves around. There's nothing wrong with that.
Do you have to advertise everywhere you're gonna move?
No, just where you're gonna meet.
We're gonna tour, yeah, okay. Meet and then tour borough
Yeah,
facilities.
you might wanna put in the ad that it
I'd like to keep
may wander
fellow
around.
council members, think about when the weather's nicer, and before the snakes come out.
You're
I
making
would-
this so appealing, Roger.
I think it would be a good idea for all of us to tour the borough facilities, the buildings, the trucks. We have Mr. Priley here, and if he needed someone else, if we needed to go in two different groups, half of us to the mountain at one time and half to the plant, the wells, so that everyone has a good understanding of what's where, when, and how it works.
Is
I think
this
it'd
your
just be a
plan?
big help.
Is this your plan to discard some of us?
If the hoe's sitting in the mountain, don't go up.
Well, and
Okay,
if-
because the
Watch
graves
those
are
bloopers
done.
together at the mountain.
we talked about opening up, we talked about this at utilities meeting, we talked about opening up, some of the sewer, to look down in the sewer so everybody can see that.
Yep.
Like down maybe at Elm Street might be a good spot where we have the infiltration. So if anybody thinks of other places they'd like to see,
I think
I think we'd like to see if we can get somebody between.
I will offer my
issues.
services free of charge, come up and give even the new people, the youngins, a tour of the sewer treatment plant.
Greg,
I was gonna say, this
Greg,
included, we were talking
Greg,
sewer,
give them the truth
sewer
back.
treatment plant.
I'll
Right.
tell them the truth. I'll tell them the dirty
Don't
truth.
cover it.
Don't accept a baseball. if they
Kevin
don't
has to
understand.
be here, not none of the other operators, you can.
So, at this point, do we need action from the table to do it at a date to be determined? And we can
Authorize the advertising.
authorize to advertise it?
Do we, I mean, I was gonna say, do we wanna wait, cause we were gonna talk about it next meeting to, next utilities to fleet, whatever we're calling my committee.
How about it's 60 or above?
Yeah, that's, we were talking like April-ish as a time frame. So I think we have time, we can advertise after
Okay.
next month maybe. We were just getting the idea out there because we thought people might wanna have input, like I wanna see this, I wanna do this.
Just might wanna check availability, I
Yep.
don't know, do you work like every other Saturday still, so there might.
So that's what I'm saying,
Yeah,
if
well-
you guys could come up, so we have an idea of what Saturday of the month would be a good Saturday for everybody.
Can we email Chris like available Saturdays?
Email if it's not good for you, if there's a
Yeah.
Saturday that's not good for you, let Chris know, and then he can look to recommend a date.
Any Saturday's good.
Yeah, let's look like March to mid-May, like late March, mid-May is the
No snakes.
no snake. Well,
April.
I'm okay with snakes too. as well.
less snakes maybe, but.
Okay, any other new
Shin
business?
boards. Sewer plants.
Any other new business? New business? New business? Additional comment from public? Does anyone have anything they wish to add?
No.
Is the public allowed to go on the
Yeah.
tour of the facilities and everything?
It'll be a publicly advertised meeting, yes?
Yeah, I don't think we did that.
Okay, I don't know.
You might have to sit in the back of the pickup truck.
There was one other item on the mayor's report, manager's report. First item, I didn't know if we wanted to take action on that.
Well, then.
He tabled it.
Till April, right?
Yeah. That was for the manager,
Roger
the
motion, I second.
the treasurer,
So
the,
does PSG.
Oh, I thought this was something different then, okay.
Yeah.
So this, okay, so that's what all this is encompassed in
Yeah.
that thing.
Yeah.
Okay, then we did that, okay. I read that as something different.
as, just as a point of awareness, there is an upcoming, flood management class, training that, we're gonna be sending Chris to. It sounds like it's gonna be a good opportunity to network with other communities who have similar problems, but also learn the nitty-gritty of all the flood management stuff. So that'll be coming up end of February timeframe. There'll be some days that he'll be out of the office for that.
At that meeting, Chris, check to see if that gentleman might be there from Newport that does the bulk flood elevations for a lot lower price per resident.
This is
Chris and I had
this
talked
is a
about
FEMA
it.
training thing, so I doubt that there'll be contractors there, but.
Okay, I'm just wondering, if someone
But we'll
talks
look at
about
it.
them, so we know who
Yeah,
to get.
we put that out and we didn't have, we had 2 people
Yeah, only
that had an interest, so.
Well, see, I didn't get anything, and I have 2 properties. See, I don't do email though,
But you do the newsletter, you gotta read it.
It was in the newsletter.
sorry.
We'll
my mistake.
we'll revisit
Because
that.
I just had
because-
6 people on Market Street ask me on Saturday if we were gonna do that.
Well, we'll put it out again to people and
Okay.
give them another chance to gauge, because I would like us to do that, because it will really help them, and it will help us with, as we get into the community rating system, to help get that discount rate.
I actually just thought of something else that I wanted to ask.
Took a big-
Can my committee be called Utilities and Public Works? To shorten it from the utilities, streets, infrastructure, fleets, and facilities?
I was calling it infrastructure,
Okay,
and then just putting underneath it what it is in it.
That's fine.
Utilities, facilities, streets,
that's fine,
and
I
fleet.
just wanted to make it shorter,
So
so.
I would just say
Infrastructure works fine.
But, yeah. I think it sounds kind of snappy. Okay, Any other new business? Oh, we're past that. Any other public comment? Any action from the table?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
That. Motion to, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Yeah,
I'll take the text.
I have to sign it again. I didn't get it before. Who seconded it?
Yeah, that's fine.
Like, you're not saying.
Next Monday.
And there was another thing. Yeah, that's
The resolution.
Yes. Right. So, I didn't know he had it or if you had it, if you had to change it.
I don't.